So I thought about making this video really clickbaity, and I could have been like, I sold my Pentax 6.7, what did I get? Or I'm giving up medium format, or my first experience on 8x10, but all of it seemed kind of stupid and fake. So we're just gonna call it whatever I called it. I don't even know what I'm gonna call it, but decided to throw in some darkroom footage of me printing the photos that I took yesterday, because I just didn't want this to be a sit down talk about what I've been going through recently. So I hope you guys enjoy that footage, but I did end up selling my Pentax 6.7. Every time I would go out to shoot, and I'm just gonna talk to you guys like we're buddies, we're friends, we're just having a drink.
Oh, Robbie is your other best friend?
Correct. And Hank Mardukas.
I sold my Pentax 6.7. Every time I would go out, I would be using the 4x5, and the Pentax 6.7 was back up. And I got to the point where I was nailing my 4x5 shots, and I just didn't want to waste film on backup shots. So I was neglecting this Pentax. I wasn't using it. I was loving the detail, the look of 4x5, so I thought I'll sell the Pentax. So I put that on Instagram, sold it really quickly. I just wanted it gone, got the money, and the same day I bought an Intrepid 8x10. Now my thought process behind that was I could buy the 8x10, get a $500, $400 lens, and then sell the Xenotar lens, because the Xenotar lens is the equivalent of a 300mm f5.6 on 8x10. So I did that, and I put the Xenotar up for sale, and I put it around $2,600, I think, because there was one on there that sold for close to $3,000. So I put it on there for that, got a bunch of watchers, but no one bought it. So I thought that's fine. I'll just buy a cheaper, more modern lens for my 4x5. So I bought a Nikon 150mm f5.6, and that was going to be my new 150mm 4x5 lens. So I took the 8x10 out. I took this lovely portrait of Blake in front of his 1991 electric CRX, and the sharpness, the look, everything that I got from it was amazing. Now the downside of it came in the fact of film cost, because it cost $169 for 25 sheets of Ilford FP4. I had to buy a new light because my scanning light wasn't big enough. I had to buy a developing reel, so I bought a 20th century developing reel and a new Patterson tank, and I developed in that. I actually developed live on IG. Some of you might have watched it, and the film came out of the reel and it was just floating in the Patterson tank like an idiot, but it developed fine. So I was gonna sell that reel, or return that reel, and then sell the Patterson tank, and then buy a Stearman press. So I bought a Stearman press 8x10. It's a little tray developing, super nice. It develops one sheet of film at a time, 8x10. So I bought that, used that, turned out really well. I took two portraits of a guy named Jim, and they turned out really nice. Wasn't a fan of the first composition that I took. And then the second photo that I took, the portrait, turned out pretty good, But everything that was going into it was kind of giving me second thoughts about everything. Just the cost and the time it took. Scanning took forever because I had to take 15 shots and stitch them together. And all this time, I'm putting the Xenotar on eBay, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off. I can't make up my mind whether I want to sell it or not. So I took the Nikon out and used that on 4x5, and I took this wonderful portrait of Rich, and the detail and the contrast and the color of that lens was phenomenal. The colors that I got from it, the contrast right off the bat were really, really good. It was Portrait 160 and T-Max 100. The up-close portrait, you can see the detail, and you can see every pore, every freckle, every flaw, every piece of hair on his face. It was amazing. So that kind of got me thinking, should I keep that lens and then sell the Xenotar for cheaper? I don't know what I'm going to get for it, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry for all the gear talk and all the nonsense that I'm spouting out right now, but...
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
So I decided that 8x10 was going to be a little too much because the results that I got obviously were good, but when you compare them side by side with 4x5, especially with the Xenotar lens, you get the same look, and the detail isn't going to be much greater unless you're scanning with like a drum scanner or just doing insane stitching with the 8x10 negative. And I've blown up the 4x5 shots that I take with the Xenotar to 16x20, and the detail is amazing. I have this portrait of Jim that I took right here, and it looks really, really good. And the other fact being that my enlarger can't even print 8x10 because I don't have an enlarger head that is that big. So I just did a contact print, and that was a problem in and of itself. So all these things were going through my head, and the only thing for sure that I knew is the Earth is round, and I didn't want the Pentax 6.7. So I'm glad that the Pentax 6.7 was gone. I definitely want to only be in large format. So yesterday, I take out the Xenotar lens, and I told myself I wasn't going to take out the Nikon. I was just going to take out the Xenotar and shoot it because there's a reason why I wanted it in the first place, and there's a reason why I fell in love with it. And I took these two portraits that I printed today that you've been watching me print while I talk about my problems. But it reminded me why I love that lens so much, because the full body portrait, the blown out background, the sharpness that you get, you can see every detail on his jacket or his shirt, whatever you want to call it. And it just looks like 8x10, but at the cost of 4x5. And then the medium close-up portrait that I took, just the depth of field is amazing. That's exactly what I want. And the sharpness that you get is close to what a modern 5.6 like the Nikon can do. So I'm just super happy that it didn't sell, because I am definitely going to keep that lens. As of right now, I'm only shooting 4x5, and that's the way that it's going to be for quite some time. Yeah, that's everything that's been happening the last couple weeks, and I'm sorry for not making any videos. I've been talking to some people about Analog Artisans, but their schedule's conflicting, and I'm trying to figure that out. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm looking forward to getting out there and making more videos with the Xenotar lens and showing more of the process. If you guys have any questions about 4x5, about 8x10, if you're debating about jumping up formats or getting rid of a format, let me know. I'm obviously a pro about stuff like that. So thank you all for the support, and I look forward to making the next one.